Sup? I haven't posted in about a week. That's because I was hacked. I got everything back, so I have everything back to my control again, and there's no longer any stinky hackers or scammers, but that's why I haven't posted in about roughly a week. I couldn't even upload. I didn't have access to the Google account, which means I couldn't have access to this channel. I want to make this video talk about how it happened, what exactly happened, why it even happened, and talk about how you, in case you have any sort of social media, or if you want to start any sort of social media, how you can avoid having that happen to you as well. Before I can fully talk about how it happened in the first place, I gotta give a little bit of context, actually a lot of context behind what I do when I'm not Tales Tomorrow, when I'm not this avatar talking about RPG horror stories and being on here on this channel. In my videos I say that I'm just a tiefling on the internet, but I'm not just a tiefling on the internet. I'm also a the height the height is so bad. I'm also tiny apparently. I'm also a cat girl on the internet. I know the tiefling horns and the tiefling attire is a little bit confusing, and it's not just, you know, Morrow gender bent. Let me switch to an avatar that's a little more less confusing. Hello, my name is Damriel. I'm a virtual reality cat girl, as you can tell by the ears. I've been doing VTubing as this cat girl persona since 2018. I'm an independent VTuber that mainly streams on Twitch. I make YouTube videos from time to time on my main channel, Damriel VR, and yeah, I just been working on Tales Tomorrow as a side project because I got very invested and wanted to do RPG horror story videos after watching so many YouTube channels out there make so many wonderful and amazing videos that got me into the hobby in the first place. I'm also an avid D&D player, and I love D&D with all my heart. 5th edition D&D has been just a passion for me, but I wasn't sure if I could really combine D&D and Damriel together, so instead I created Tales Tomorrow, where I could experiment with doing things related to TTRPGs and D&D and all that stuff. And one of my favorite things was to watch RPG horror story videos. And after watching so many amazing content creators like Crit Crab, Den of the Drake, Crispy's Tavern, D&D Doge, Crow's Perch, and a bunch of others, it got me wanting to give it a shot doing RPG horror stories myself. Now that we got the context out of the way, I'm gonna switch back to Morrow and we could talk a little bit more about what exactly happened. I just want to clarify, I'm not trying to like hide the fact that I'm Damriel Morrow. It's just I wanted to talk about it at a point where it felt a little bit more right to say, but I guess in this situation kind of the literal cat is out of the bag, because that kind of helps explain the context for how I end up losing the channel. Over on Twitter, I was approached by a representative from a company called Shopify. It's basically a business company that helps you kind of manage your business expenses and tracking your budget and everything. So they're just software developers that make the app. The representative, however, I assumed was legit because the information they provide on the Twitter account matched a real person on LinkedIn, and a lot of the information was one-to-one the same. They reached out to me on Twitter DMs, which is a little bit weird, but not the first time I was reached out by initial contact, talk about like a brand deal or some sort of sponsorship in the past, and with them acting very professional about it and trying to really play off the role of them being this representative from Shopify made it seem really believable. It was like a full-on con that they were trying to go for a while. Even on their Twitter account, their track record of like what they tweet about and retweets and everything seemed to match with them being in relations or working for Shopify. To say it was a long con would be an understatement. It was an investment into an identity that really wasn't theirs. They wanted me to sign some sort of an e-document, some sort of agreement about the actual sponsorship using another legitimate service called DocuSign, which is a legitimate distributor that works with trying to make sure you can sign electronic documents faster, but make it really easy. You make an account, they send you the document, you click some buttons, and there we go. E-document already signed. I don't have any experience with DocuSign, but from what I looked online, it seemed like a perfectly legitimate business. They modified the link just enough for me not to notice it. The website to this modified link did look very professional, which is really scary how professional they made the thing look and how official they made it look. It was the most conniving act of social engineering that I've ever seen. That was enough to even catch somebody like me, who's typically a skeptic, off guard. I guess I was an idiot and didn't realize that they were trying to just get me to download some sort of malicious thing to just rip data from my browsers and basically get access to my Google accounts. All the security measures just stripped in an instant. I end up losing access to my YouTube channels. including Tales Tomorrow. This was indeed a very traumatic event because suddenly, after maybe more than 6 years worth of my life's work, it just disappeared forever. I knew that I had to get it back. Unfortunately, every single way I found on Google through official Google support, it really didn't work out whatsoever. There wasn't any official ways for me to contact it. I mean, there were some links, but honestly, ultimately, they weren't helpful in the slightest. Getting a hold of creator support from YouTube was also extremely difficult, and the only place I knew where I could ever try to seek some sort of help is, honestly, on Twitter. The only way I knew that most people are able to get anything done is by, well, ultimately just spamming at Team YouTube. And I'm not the kind of person that would recommend spamming or harassing Team YouTube to try to get this resolved, but I was desperate, so I didn't know what to do. Unfortunately, my main Thumbnail Twitter account also got compromised, so the only thing I could really do is just to dig up a Twitter account for Tales Tomorrow that I haven't used in months and make a backup Thumbnail one and just do whatever I could on both sides, try to get attention from some way. After about 2 or 3 days of trying, I decided I would just go with a Hail Mary. I made a video on Twitter just pleading somebody with any sort of connection to help. Scummy as it is, I typically wouldn't be doing this sort of thing. I started tagging content creators that I would watch for years before even making a YouTube channel, just begging for somebody to just signal boost the issue and maybe reach out to a real person on YouTube. I apologize to anybody that I bothered through this, but I was in desperation. I didn't know what else to do. I had no idea what to really, how to approach it or how to signal boost it or who can I really talk to. I don't have a Google contact like a real person to contact on YouTube, and I was just really desperate for any sort of help I could get. So I do want to give a huge shout to Crow's Perch, D&D Doge, and Loot Goblin Marketplace for reaching out and tagging a Team YouTube to try to signal boost it in some way, and it actually worked. It actually worked. YouTube responded. Whether it's because YouTube been bothered enough by this issue with everybody spamming them, or maybe it's because to these content creators that I was able to get somebody to reach out to me, YouTube actually responded and started working with me to try to get my account back and then get the rest of the channels back. I know people like to rag on YouTube whenever they do some really bad changes or whenever they aren't really helpful or they do something that affects the website in a negative way, like demonetizing content creators and everything. But I just want to give a shout out to the people at Team YouTube that worked with me and contact me and listened to my issues and help me instruct on how to submit proper forms and who to contact from here and there in order to get not only just Tales Tomorrow, but everything back. Thanks to them, I was able to get everything back and start cleaning up the mess that the scammers and hackers did, and to try to get the channels back to normality. So for me, to Team YouTube, thank you guys so much for your help. For real, I am grateful. And thank you to everybody, as well as Crow's Perch, D&D Doge, and Loot Goblin Marketplace for signal boosting this issue. And for anybody that saw it on Twitter and retweeted and tagged the Team YouTube, thank you guys so much. But I guess the best thing I could do right now is just to try to pass on some good advice for having you yourself or somebody you know avoid this sort of situation themselves. Because trust me, it's not fun. Number one lesson, scammers are literally everywhere. They are on Discords, they are on Twitter, they're literally everywhere, and they'll use whatever methods they can to try to get you to give up some sort of personal information about you or to give access to your accounts in any way they can. One of the ways they do that is through social engineering, convincing me that there are indeed some sort of representative for some company because, well, to be honest, it's really easy to fake your identity online. Twitter no longer verifies people depending on if they're a real person. Twitter verifies people if they pay $8 a month. And these horrible scammers will use every tactic possible to try to make you think that they're the real person that you found on LinkedIn or on the job records or anything like that for a company. Except they aren't. So even if the social media account looks legitimate and sounds legitimate and seems to connect to another legitimate source, best thing to do, I know it's gonna sound cynical, but don't trust them. Be extremely skeptical of any account you see online. Second suggestion, if you do want to deal with some sort of sponsors or anything like that, go only through official means, such as Stream Elements. I've been using Stream Elements for a very long time, and many content creators have been working through Stream Elements to try to pair themselves with different sponsors, because that's what Stream Elements provides as a service. It's not only just for YouTubers or streamers or anything like that. If you have any sort of a social media following and you want to try to get connected with a brand, something is official and something is proven to work, like Stream Elements, that use the platform to connect brands and content creators together to make some sort of a brand deal or whatever, working through trusted service providers that can actually do this thing and connect people together because they have a proven track record of it. Not some new site that tries to connect brands together or anything. Somebody that's proven, somebody has years of experience of doing that many streamers have been working with before in the past. Either way, using a proven, let's say, bridge in a situation like Stream Elements is a good way to pair up with some sort of a brand deal. Not every brand deal out there is going to be the best, but at least it's a start of some kind. And lastly, set up business email. Simple as that. If anybody wants to talk about business, send them to the email. If you set up something through Gmail, typically it has its own built-in systems that can detect whenever something is spam or not. But even then, you have the ability to check through the records and see where the email comes from. It's not a guaranteed thing to protect yourself, but at least through a business email, like through Gmail or something, it has built-in systems to try to check to see if the email you're receiving is just a spam email that everybody is getting, so it can classify it as a spam already, or report it for phishing attempts or anything of that like. But having everything be separated to a business email alone and not have to deal with it on any of your other accounts or emails or anything, something that's completely separate and isolated from everything, is probably the best thing to do. So if you are going to go into some sort of business stuff or sponsorships or anything, best to set up a business email to work through that. And last but not least, this is the most important one: don't click links. Any links, even if it looks official, even if it looks legitimate, even if it is properly proven, even if it is from a legit company, don't click links immediately. If somebody just sends you a random link without any sort of context, then you should probably just close it and delete it and just not communicate with the person. Block them, whether it is on Discord, on emails, on Twitter, on other social medias. No matter what platform you use or how you use to communicate with businesses or anything of that sort, at the end of the day, nothing is 100% guaranteed to protect you from scammers, because scammers, in my experience, are extremely tricky. So if any of the lessons that I have to avoid scammers is do not click links. Number one lesson, do not click any links at all. If you remember anything at all from this ramble that I've given you, do not click links. If I missed any sort of lessons about protecting yourself online or anything like that, if you have tips for protecting yourself online and you want to, offer your great wisdom, please comment it down below for people to read as well. Because listen, I'm just a dumb tiefling on the internet, extremely dumb tiefling on the internet, but also I'm a dumb cat girl on the internet too. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. And I thought of myself as somebody that was very scrutinizing when it comes to like checking for suspicious activity or weird stuff or weird behavior. And it even tricked somebody like me. I thought it wouldn't get me ever, but it did. For the conclusion of this video, I do want to talk about some things. First of all, no, I don't want to make this like a topic for the rest of the videos. I want to get back to making RPG horror stories and talk about D&D and TTRPGs as soon as possible. So after this video, you'll probably just see me come back to reading more RPG horror stories. Also, don't worry about me bringing in the Thamiel persona onto this channel. The reason why this channel was created was Tales Tomorrow, for RPG horror stories, for TTRPGs, D&D, and all that stuff. But just now that you know that cat's out of the bag, and secretly what I'm not being a tiefling, I'm just a degenerate cat girl on the internet. That's basically it. An awkward thing for me to talk about because Morrow and Thamiel are completely different personality-wise as like a persona on the channel. But regardless, I still want to continue doing things as Morrow on Tales Tomorrow, where we do RPG, D&D, TTRPG stuff, horror stories, and all that. Thank you so much for watching the video. I apologize for any of the concerns or stresses or lack of uploading for last week and everything. Let's get to doing the next video as Tales Tomorrow, doing some more RPG horror stories. Also, once again, a big shout out to Crow's Perch, D&D Doge, and Loot Goblin Marketplace for your support and reaching out to me and checking in on me and everything. I really appreciate you guys. Those guys have been nothing but the kindest to me, and I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out and all your help. Anyway, bye!